believe it or not, I am not just someone who speaks on YouTube, but I actually do help people in person with their businesses. I have a coaching program. It's called Daley 7D7, where we help you with these 7 pillars that you need to hit every single week, every single day, 7 days a week to get to 7 figures. I actually this morning impromptu sent a message in to some of the members and asked if they wanted to do a sales training. And this is a few of the guys who hopped on and me breaking down, I think probably my most in-depth training on sales, specifically alignment in sales, the 3 closes you need in every single sales call, and really even before the sales call. If you're a business owner and you're trying to create a VSL, this is going to be very helpful for you. If you're a business owner trying to close deals for your own business, this is going to be helpful for you. If you're trying to teach salespeople how to close deals for your business, this is going to be helpful for you. If you're a sales rep, this is obviously going to be helpful for you. I think this is probably one of the most valuable sales trainings I've ever done. I think it's going to be something very valuable for you over the next 50 or so minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Instagram. If you want to see how to hop on calls like this and have me personally help you with your business, message me on Instagram, D7, and I'd be glad to help. I'll have someone on my team reach out and you and I can personally hop on a call. Appreciate you guys much. See you soon. What's the purpose of an intro?
I feel like you can just, and then you can kind of drop, what's the word for it? I guess allow them to get a little bit more comfortable on the call.
Yeah. In short, all we're trying to do in the intro is make them realize that we're not cash registers, essentially, or like robots that are trying to get their money. We're trying to make them see right away, like, okay, this is an actual human being I'm talking to, who has a personality, who has a life, etc. So I'm going to skip for a second and go to where the Daley just said, which is rapport. Can anyone define rapport for me?
You.
What's rapport? Jason, are you muted?
It was auto remuting me. And I'm like, I just won't talk.
No, sorry. It's not me, I promise. My hands are off.
No, it's okay. Really, for me, it's just like relationship building.
Yeah,
it's like just starting that relationship.
I'll say relationship building. It's not the word I want, but it's close.
It's not the word I really want either, but it's what I thought of in the moment.
Who has a one-word answer for what rapport is?
Connection.
No. I'm just going to write it. It's trust, right? If you have rapport with someone, it means that you have trust. Even if it's a minimal degree of trust, you have some kind of trust with them. And so the thing about intro, a lot of people will try to build rapport in the intro, but the thing is you can't really do that because rapport being trust, if you think about it as a trust thing, it doesn't really matter what you talk about or how nice you are or something. It doesn't mean that they trust you yet, right? If anything, being too nice at the beginning, which a lot of people do because they try to build rapport at the beginning, almost comes off as insincere and makes them think that you're really just being nice for the sake of getting money. So at the very beginning of the call, to be honest with you, I'm trying to be like, just show them I'm not a cash register. Normally it's like finding out where they are, asking them 1 or 2 questions based on where they are, maybe saying I'm on the opposite side of the country, whatever it is. But I'm really trying to keep it 1 or 2 questions about them, show them, okay, we're both humans, then get into it. If I'm too nice, then the thought is like, oh, this guy's really just like trying to like metaphorically suck my dick so I can pay him money, right? So I want to avoid that. So I'm not getting overly into the conversation. I'm just spending 45 seconds to like a minute and a half on this stuff. After intro, we get into what?
Setting the frame. Oh, is this
agenda set? Agenda. Okay, what do we want to do on the agenda set?
Actually lay out what the call is going to look like, kind of take charge, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So we essentially want to lay out, like, Ely, you know my agenda set. If you guys don't know, it's, let's say we're doing a 1 call close. Be Jason. Awesome. It's cool if you hop into it, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Well, I like to keep these short and sweet. So, and if we were doing a 2 call close, it'd be like, I'm not going to ask you for a credit card at the end of this, et cetera. For a 1 call close, which is probably what we're doing if most of us are doing inbound, it's going to be, like to keep these short and sweet. Really just want to find out where you are in business right now, man, what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, what's keeping you from getting there. If I can actually see something that we can help you with, then I'll walk you through it all. I'll break it down A to Z. I'll answer all of your questions. If you like what you hear at the end of this, then I'll make you an offer. Is that fair enough? And what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I'm not saying ask. A lot of people are like, I'm going to ask you some questions. No one wants to be probed and asked questions. But if you're saying like, I want to find out where you are and where you want to go, it means I'm going to ask questions. If I can see something that we can help you with, then I'm going to give you a solution. Keep in mind, I'm not saying product. This ties into Ely's question. I'm not going to go over product. A lot of people say at the very beginning, I'll tell you what we can do, or I'll tell you how we work. I'll tell you about Ultimate Editor or Daily 7, etc. No one cares about the product. They care about the solution and getting an answer to their problem, right? And then the main thing a lot of people don't do is they set the agenda that if they like what they hear, then I will give them an offer. Meaning I'm not going to give them an offer if something doesn't fit for them. I'm not going to tell them about something that would be a bad choice. I'm only going to give them an offer if it makes sense. But the main thing to note is I will give them an offer if it makes sense. A lot of people don't get on a call and expect an offer to be made at the end. And so when you ask them to try to make a decision at the end, they haven't been thinking this entire time that they're supposed to. So I'm saying at the very beginning, the concept of there could be an offer at the end of this. And then when they go through the call, they're warming up to that idea. Right now they have a finish point in mind, which is not like I'm going to get off the call and think about it. Like a lot of people think they're going to do. It's okay. At the end of this, I'm thinking about what is this something I want to do right now, right? So I'm reprogramming the concept that they had going into the call of what the end of the call is going to look like. After the agenda set, what's next?
So normally where I start just asking questions, background questions, getting to know them.
Right. No, discovery, yeah. So this is where example given Taiwan got into it, but this is where you get into like past state, current state, problem, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot like Cole Gordon says that there are 9 pillars you want to get into with the discovery. This, to be honest with you guys, would be a whole, Mary knows the discovery I think is the most important part of a sales call by far. This is something I could talk about for like hours on end on its own. But in short, discovery is really it's where we build the gap, which a lot of people suck at. We build the gap, and then we also preemptively conquer or objections, which we'll get into. And maybe next week we do a full training specifically on Wednesday on discovery and how to have a good discovery. Cool. After discovery, then what do we get into? This is where we change a little bit based on what you guys were talking about, kind of what you was getting to. I don't know if you guys are going to grab it, so we're just going to throw in transition. A lot of people also refer to this as a tempo change, which I'll break down in a second. But what is the goal of transitioning? There are 2 goals. Okay, I'm going to give you guys the rest just so we understand everything and how it fits in together. So then you get into pitch, then you get into close, and then if needed, objection handling. So based on everything we have here, what would the thought of the transition be? What are you doing in the transition?
Kind of talking about how, I don't want to say this, but talking about how you can help.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're not, that's not it, but you're getting to the right area. So, okay, let's start here. What is a pitch? What are you doing when you pitch? Guys, I can sit here and
You're just offering your services, correct?
Cool. Yeah, okay, so in pitch, we offer services. That's a simple way of saying it. We can get into it a little more, but we're offering services. So if we're going from building a gap here to offering services here, what do you think has to happen in the middle?
About what they need.
Okay, so what they need. What did we say when we set the agenda? What did we say we were gonna give them?
A solution, right?
Yeah. Cool. So note here we're offering services, or let's say services. We're offering product. In the transition, we offer a solution. Cool. And then close is obviously like close deal, go for the kill. We'll see. And then objection handling, I think, is kind of self-explanatory. So to say this, when we are doing the transition tempo change, actually, I don't know either if I told you about this. There's a video I would want you guys to watch. Have you guys watched this video before?
Yeah, I watched all of them.
I haven't seen it.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna put this as like homework. Side note, I'm gonna take this to ask you guys a question. So I've thought about 2 things for none of you guys came in because of the promise of content being inside of the Daily 7 program, right? We're doing this for the sake of like application. But I would want to ask you, if I created content, part of me thinks that it would make sense to put it inside of Daily 7 so that it's there as something that can help you guys. Part of me thinks it makes sense to put it on YouTube so people can come in and see it, benefit from it, and then come to the coaching. But then you guys haven't watched this YouTube video, which I'm about to tell you is a helpful YouTube video to watch for this. Would you feel like I'm robbing you guys if I made content for YouTube that I still told you to watch while we were in the coaching program?
No.
Cool. Sweet. That actually helps me quite a bit in trying to think about what to do. Okay, so homework is watch this video. In this video, I break down probably more than I'm going to break down right now what I'm about to get into, because I thought about it more before I said it. This is more off the cuff. In short, the solution is where we get alignment. Okay, let's actually backtrack. To get a close, you need to, a lot of people think that they need music's finally distracting me. A lot of people think that in a sale, there's one sell, which is like the person saying like, yes, I want to buy it, right? But in every sale, there are 3 sales or 3 closes that you actually have to close. First close is in discovery, second close is in transition. So we'll even say like discovery is 1, transition is 2, and then pitch/close would be 3, right? Those are where we get the 3 sales. Now, what do you think the first sell or first close that we have to close them on is?
That they have a problem.
Ely did watch the video. They have a problem. Here's the deal, guys. It doesn't matter if we're selling people on how to do a car rental. It doesn't matter if we're selling people on how to get more residential custom home builds. It doesn't matter if we're selling people on how to cycle faster. Whatever it is, most people don't think that they have a problem. That's the case, right? If they actually thought that they had a problem, they probably would be further into addressing the problem than they are. They probably would have already, like I always say that problem diagnosis and problem solution are actually the same thing. So realistically, if you guys knew what your problems were in not growing the business yet, you probably would know enough to be able to solve the problem on its own, right? So most people don't think they have a problem. If they do think they have a problem, they don't know the problem. So number one is like, we can talk about sometimes awareness of problem. You have to show them this is more marketing, less sales, but you have to show them that they have a problem. But the sales/marketing side is that you have to show them what the problem is. A lot of people could say like, I'm not getting as many leads as I want. I'm not making as much money as I want. I'm not closing as many deals, but whatever it is, right? A lot of people know that I'm not making as much money as I want, or I'm stuck in my 9 to 5. Whatever the problem is, a lot of people know the symptom to the problem. I have a runny nose, I have a headache, etc. Have you guys, I know Jason, you bought this. Have you guys ever read Gap Selling by Keenan? There we go. Are you reading it?
Yep.
I think the entry paragraph or like story about the headache and the pill and everything, I think it's one of my favorite analogies for building a gap that I've ever read. In short, that book starts, guys, by talking. If you don't have this, by the way, Gap Selling by Keenan. Mary, can you actually, we should start like a resources thing inside of this, like just a knowledge base of like, if you're trying to learn more about this, these are books we recommend, videos we recommend, etc. Can you recommend Gap Selling for sales and marketing for understanding like how to build problem dynamics, etc.? Anyway, I would recommend you guys watch or read that. And the very first like 3 pages is breaking down the importance of understanding symptoms versus problems. So if someone comes into your call saying like, I'm stuck in my 9 to 5, or I'm getting beat by my friends in cycling, I want to get faster, or I'm not closing enough custom builds, whatever it is, that those are symptoms of something that is causing that to happen, right? In the medicine world, it's like I have a runny nose, I have a fever, blah, blah, blah. Those are symptoms of some kind of bacteria or virus or whatever happening in your body, right? And so you don't have to, most closers will take those symptoms and try to solve those symptoms, right? What you actually want to do, I'm going to get out of the gap selling stuff for a second, is you want to do what's called a problem transfer. I'm trying to get the term there. Oh yeah, anyone here ever get on a call with someone and then they're like, like I've tried this before, just, blah, blah, like I don't think it's going to work, etc. Like the whole I've tried this before, or what makes you different, etc. Right? The way that you avoid that, the reason I never get that anymore is because I almost always recognize what the problem is, and it's different than the problem they tried to solve before. So example given, let's say you're helping a, who wants to be the example for this?
I'll take it. Or Jason could take it.
I'll do both. Let's say we're helping someone. Actually, I'm going to use Jason because it's easier for me just based on experience. Jason's an agency for you guys that don't know, who's now going to get into helping new custom home builders get more custom home builds, right? And so like imagine people who build houses for $1 million plus. He's going to give them leads, etc. Right? Do their social media, blah, blah, blah. Now, they likely have worked with other agencies before, right? And the way that we're going to avoid, well, dude, what makes you different than anyone? Or like, you're more expensive than the other people that I talk to. Or I've done this before, Facebook ads don't work. What Google ads don't work, I've tried it before, etc. The way we avoid all of that is by transferring the problem that they were trying to solve versus the problem that they actually have, right? So example given, I'm pretty sure, like, except for Taiwan, Jason, with you and Ely with you, I got into like, this is probably something that's making it hard for you to grow that you probably haven't thought about before. Jason, for you is offer. Ely, for you it was price modeling, I think, before offer. And then Taiwan, I actually forget what it was for you. There was a lot that we went into, but you were kind of changing your offer, et cetera. But we the reason I'm saying this is I didn't tell you I was going to try to work on something that you've already worked on. I'm telling you something like, and then I built, so it's two things. Number one, you have to, okay, we're going to get into like the marketing side, but sales side. You have to show them that they have a problem. You have to close them on what the problem is. And the way we close them on that is we build a logical argument that cannot be refuted as to why that is their problem. So when I got into it, I don't think for any of you guys that came on here, you could, and this is weird because I'm talking to you guys about how I sold you, but I don't think that any of you would say that I like hard closed you or I hard sold you. I just told you what the problem was, which is why I'm comfortable talking about it like this. I showed you this is your problem, and I broke it down in an argument. When I say argument, arguments are not a bad thing in the sales and marketing world. Arguments are like, this is my argument to make this point, right? And so it's like, these are the logical things or foundation points that I'm going to use to make my argument to make you believe in X. And so I have the argument for why Christ is king. I have the argument for why Christ is God, etc. You guys should have these arguments for your offer, for whatever you believe in personal life, etc. I made the argument that was pretty hard to refute that this is your problem. And when you guys saw that, a thing like clicked in your head, whether you know it or not, of like, I never thought about that. And when you've never thought about that, then it's, I've never tried to solve that. Does that make sense? And so once you've never tried to solve something, a couple things happen. Number one, the reason a problem transfer is so important is if you trust that I just solved or showed you your problem, like I just said, diagnosis and solution for problems come hand in hand, you probably think I can solve it too. So if I'm smart enough about your situation and problem to understand what your problem is more than you do, I probably know how to solve it more than you do. And as long as the problem is worth solving to the price that I'm charging, then you're gonna invest, right? So this is like, realistically, if you guys want to talk about the word rapport comes in discovery because I'm building this. I'm really asking questions that get me to understand your problem more, and I'm asking questions that only someone who understands your problem could ask, right? So that's why, like, one of the things that I don't know if the book says this, but Keenan has this is my software sales days. He teaches a lot of people software sales, and he has like a podcast thing where people can come in cold calling while he's on the podcast, and if they pitch him really well and he wants to buy their product, he'll buy it. If not, he'll just give them critique. And one of the things he talks about quite often is that if you want to be a good sales rep in your space, you have to understand your space more than the people who run businesses in the space, right? I understood real estate more than most real estate agents. When I got on the phone with a real estate agent who knew their shit, I wasn't going to close the deal because I didn't know more than they did, and I didn't know more about how to grow it than they did. But when I got it in front of agents who had 1, 2, 3 closings a month, I could pretty easily get in front of them and close them, because I still remember the very first girl I ever sold was actually right by Taiwan. I would say probably right around Alpha, right at Atlanta. Her name was Tish Simmons, and she was awesome. And Tish was probably in the first 2 years of real estate. She got on a discovery call. This is me doing outbound prospecting. So it was a 2-call close. I did the first call with her. And the second call she came on, and I'm not kidding, this is like the very first thing she said on the second call was, Paul, it really doesn't matter what you're going to try to sell me. I want it. As long as I can afford it, I want it. And I was really taken back. I was like, why? And she said, to be honest, you asked me questions and no one's ever asked me questions before, before, and you made me think a lot. And realistically, I just trust that if you can, like, if based on what you were asking me, I trust that you can probably help me, kind of thing. I forget the paraphrase of the second part, but I remember the first part, like, it was based on the quality of the questions. So the reason I'm saying all this is rapport is not based on small talk like a lot of people do. Rapport is actually based on them building trust based on the quality of questions that you ask. and then getting into transferring the problem from what they think the problem is. Everyone thinks they know what the problem is, by the way. If you go to the doctor, you're going to think it's this. If you're coming for cycling coaching, you're going to think the problem is that you don't have a good enough cardio, or that you have your bike is this or whatever. Everyone thinks they know what the problem is, and you have to understand realistically, if they were coming to you, they wouldn't, and they knew what the problem was, they wouldn't be coming to you because they would be solving the problem already, right? At the end of the time, or at the end of the conversation, it really comes down to the fact that they don't know what the problem is. It's your job to teach them what the problem is and transfer the problem. So you think it's this, it's actually this. This is why I know it's this. And as long as that argument is good enough, almost always you'll make the sale. That really is why it comes down to, or why I've always said discovery is, for lack of a better term, the most important part of a sales call. Anyone have any questions on that before we get into the next juice? Cool. Okay, so close number one, you have to close them on the fact that they have a problem if they don't know that already, but then what that problem is, and you have to build a logical argument that cannot be refuted as to what that problem is. What's the next close that we have to have? Either don't say it because you watched the video and so you would already know. Taiwan or Jason, what's the next thing we're closing?
That you have a solution to that problem?
No, that's number 3.
That's 3, yeah. No.
Well, let me rephrase. You said that you have a solution. When can you define solution? You might be right, you might be wrong based on how you answer this.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know if I can.
You mean the product when you say solution?
Yeah, more so like what you can actually do to solve that problem.
That's number 3, and we'll get there in a sec. Number 2, though, what's the second one that happens in transition, which is why these questions coming on. What's the second thing we have to close them on? Taiwan, try for it, and if not, then Ely, you can hit it.
Do they have to agree to the problem that you're calling out? Is that a part of that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, so going back to 1, if they don't agree that the problem is what you said the problem is, which will happen, it's based on how good you are at building the argument and how much you know what you're talking about. Like the example given, if you got in front of someone who was trying to close more real estate leads and they talked to 3 people a month, and they wanted to close 5 deals a month, and you didn't say that lead generation or amount of calls or like volume was their problem, and like realistically you're diagnosing the problem wrong, so they might argue that, right? There's 2 sides of getting agreement here. Number 1 is picking out the right problem, which comes with expertise, which is why being a good salesperson is really being a good consultant, right? And that's why most of the time when you look at like any vetted sales reps in any industry, the longer they've been in the industry, the more they tend to close. Number 1, because pipeline builds, but number 2 is also because they tend to understand the problems in the industry better and they can get there quicker. So number 1 is diagnosing the right problem. Number 2 is building the argument. A lot of people can know what the problem is, but they just suck at building that logical argument, right? I'm not saying I think we all know emotionally decisions are made emotionally, but the way that we found the emotion in like foundation, or the way that we like create a rock hard argument that leads to people not feeling hard closed, that leads to lack of disputes, etc., is logic. Logic doesn't fade, emotion fades. Emotion fades the second you get off a call. If you're trying to get people to like build the vision, build the dream, etc., the second they get off the call with you, all that starts to dissipate. But if you make a logical argument that cannot change based on time, or like them talking to you, like it's like when I talk to someone, maybe you guys can agree to this, you probably thought about what I had to say for a long time after, because the logic did not change based on whether I was talking to you or not. The logic was still true, right? And so you have to build the logical argument based on a problem that is the correct problem. So that's number 1. And then you really do have to get agreement. So you would say like awesome. Well, I mean, that's where clarifying the gap is. And so one of the things that Hormozi talks about in his closer framework is labeling a problem. When you label the problem, if you will, with them, and there's tons of different ways you can do this, so I'm not going to get into granular now, but when you label their problem, they have to agree that that is their problem. And then what you're looking for is like oh, I never thought about that, or like, I've never looked at it that way, or like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like those like relief, what example given, let's say you guys were really sick and you didn't even care if you were, had the worst thing in the world or something super easy to get rid of. If you were really sick and no one could tell you what the problem was, and you've tried going to different doctors and no one could solve the problem, as soon as someone actually labeled anyone here ever watched House, the TV show House? Cool. I went down a big House tangent, or not tangent. I watched all of House in like 3 weeks. I became obsessed with it. But the thing to note is that he would just diagnose people with the problem, whether it was curable or not. And when he did, they would just have relief at the fact that someone finally found out what was wrong with them, right? And so when I'm doing a problem transfer, I'm recognizing that this person, I'm probably not the first person they've talked to about this problem, probably not going to be the first solution that they've tried for this problem, because we're not massive companies that have market dominance in what we're doing. They've probably tried the big stuff first, didn't work. They probably tried smaller stuff, and now they're getting to the point where, like, realistically, they're working with more small business, right? Which means they've gone through some solutions at this point. If that's the case, they probably tried a lot and spent a lot of money trying to solve the problem. So when I finally give them the problem that is actually their problem, that should mean, if I got it right, that they're relieved. They're like, oh my God, someone finally found it. Like, I finally get it. So that's like, whether I'm not looking for someone like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm looking for like, oh bro, that makes sense. That's what I'm looking for. That relief and sigh of relief when I tell them what the problem is. If I get that, almost always I know I'm going to get the sale. That's me realistically getting, like, doing the rest, or like getting something good. And then 2 and 3 fall in line. You'll see how easy 2 and 3 fall in line if we get this. But this is why I say discovery is so important, because most people, they skip this and just assume that this is already the case with every single person that comes in, but it's not, right? It's very important. Like, the biggest mental rewire is this is the first close. The second close is Ely. Go for it.
All right. If I remember this correctly, it's that there is a solution.
No. Close.
No. Okay.
It's methodology.
Methodology.
So, okay, let's talk about example given. Let's use Taiwan as the example for this because it's easier. So Taiwan, he's getting out of this, but his biz out for a while was car rental. So he would tell people how to make more money, creating like a small boutique car rental thing. I still don't really understand it fully at Taiwan, but they, like, you buy cars, you rent it out, almost like Turo, but not Turo, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. And so, in short, if anyone's looking at that model, they know realistically they probably want to make more money. They probably know that they want to make sure they are locationally free, time free, etc. Right? They probably know what they want. They probably understand that their problem is that they're not doing something right now that will get them there, and so they know they need to make a change. In this case, this is why realistically, like, if another video that you guys can watch. Mary, which is the video that talks about how companies do more marketing and less sales? Sales. You know what I'm talking about, Mary?
Literally the same title. Go up. It's one of the.
It's how 8-figure companies do.
Well, wait. No, it's not it. It's more recent.
If you didn't have the ability to use a sales, I think it's this one. With earbuds. This is the first of many videos that I want to make on marketing. Not quite an official series, but an unstructured series on everything from lead ecosystems to content to for a business. You can take this video, apply the knowledge, and increase the more filled the barometer has to be from a scale of 0 to 1. Yeah, I think it's this one. Right? No, is it this one? Oh yeah, I'm going to find it for you guys. I'm going to add it to the G-Doc. I have a video that talks about how that one's about the marketing barometer filling up more than sales. You want to know what it is, Mary? It's the one that we never posted because the iPad file corrupted. So guys, I recorded this 55-minute video that was a banger, and the iPad file just corrupted. And so it was completely usable. It's the worst part about making content is when stuff like that happens. What I said in that video is that there are 3 levels. There's a book on this. I can't remember what book it is. If we ChatGPT it, would be able to find it in a second. But there's a book that talks about states of awareness that people go through in a buying cycle. And like the last stage is that they know they're looking for a product, right? And this is why we do it this way. And I actually never read this book. I'm really proud of the fact that I found all this out through experience, because it just shows like I'm doing things right through experience, and it's like a thing that I'm happy about, just to sign up. But the last thing that people do is decide on what product they want, right? The product, that's why realistically, if you look at businesses who are making 5, 10, 15,000 a month, where you guys are, they're really, you guys are selling a product. This is what we do. And the only people who will look at this is what we do companies is people that already know this is what I want, right? And so they already know realistically, I have a problem. I want to solve the problem using this type of method. I want to use Facebook ads or Google ads. So I'm going to go to this company who does Google ads, right? So methodology is going one layer out. They're not looking for a product, but they know they have a problem. Now they're looking at different ways to solve that problem. So the reason the car rental thing came to mind is, let's say someone knows they want more freedoms. They're now going to look at different business models. They're going to look at e-com. They're going to look at agency. They're going to look at FBA. They're going to look at coaching. They're going to look at all these different offers, or they might even look at like brick and mortar stuff that they can start. They could look at online sales. There's so many different methods of becoming locationally free, time free, etc. Right? And realistically, if your solution is, hey, I'm going to teach you how to do a car rental business to someone who hasn't already decided that that's the method that they want to use, then what you're going to do, you're essentially saying like, hey, give me, let's say it's $5,000. Give me $5,000 so I can teach you how to do a car rental business to someone who hasn't decided they want to do a car rental business. They don't know why that's the thing worth doing, right? So what we have to do is we have to sell them and close them on the methodology that you have being the right methodology for them that will get them to where they want, really the only methodology that will get them to where they want. If you watch any of the VSLs that are on YouTube from like guys like Iman's the easiest one for me to think of. There, you know that, did you guys ever watch that VSL? The thumbnail was like the grid with like the checks and the red checks and the green arrow or red crosses, whatever they're called, check marks, etc. I'm brain glitching here. I'm completely rebooting. The reason I'm saying this is in that VSL, in any good VSL, you'll see that people get into the different things you can do, but then they're going to de-sell every single one except for the one that they're trying to push you into, right? They're closing you on the method of what they're trying to sell. So realistically, example given, let's say that I am, we're going to go to Jason for the agency because this is partially where just my brain works. But let's say I am selling Google PPC plus social media to new home custom builders so that they can find more deals, right? I'm going to essentially like talk to them about the fact that they can probably do mailers. They can probably do some kind of like, I'm going to use real estate because I really have no idea how custom home build stuff works. And you can tell this. If I'm talking to a real estate agent and I want them to get into Facebook ads, what I'm going to talk about is the fact that they can do open houses, they can do mailers, they can cold call, they can join a team, a real estate team where, you know, they're fed leads already. They can do all these different things, but I'm going to show why those things are not the thing that they should do. So like open houses, I'm going to talk about the fact that like you're spending 6 hours for the possibility of finding one lukewarm person. And realistically, the time it creates to generate possibly one lead is just way too much. For mailers, I'm going to talk about the fact that mailers are good, but again, realistically, you're sending it out to everyone like a shotgun effect, but you're only hoping that someone who gets the mailer is actually looking to get into the market. So that it's like you're putting it out there, but there's no guarantee that anything's going to come from that, right? And for cold calling, I'm going to talk about the conversion of cold calling is normally 0.25%, meaning you have to make 400 calls to get one appointment in real estate. So again, it's a very time intensive thing. For a real estate team, I'm going to talk about the fact that real estate teams are cool if you're learning, but they take 50% of the lead away from the brokerage commission. So you can get, you might be closing a lot of deals to get experience, but you're not making any money from it. Versus when you run Facebook ads, I would even say, like, I'm sure you've heard Facebook ads are this and that, but in reality, what Facebook ads do is they algorithmically, you know, Facebook wants to get your ad in front of people who are looking for what you're giving so that you pay them more money. So you have a multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar at this point, company trying to help your company grow because then they make more money from it. And so Facebook's going to look for people who are already house searching on Zillow. They're already looking for different houses. They're looking at Redfin or whatever be it. And it's going to take your ad and put it in front of them. So you're getting in front of very warm, interested people. And then when they opt in, all you have to do is talk to them. And so like I'm de-selling the other things and I'm selling my method, right? Because realistically, what I want them to buy into, in this case, is Facebook ads. I want them to understand Facebook ads is what they have to do, whether they work with me or not. This is the way that they're going to grow their business economically with time, et cetera. And so I'm going to de-sell these, and I'm going to think about the ones that are common in my industry. This differs quality. I could not think of a single thing for healing. I know nothing about cycling coaching, right? But I'm going to think about what other people are looking at or other things that they've done, et cetera. And I'm going to essentially say like, and talk about problem transfers. A lot of these will be problems that are things that they've done to try to solve their original problem. So now I've sold them on what the problem is, and I'm going to tell them on how to solve or fix that problem on their own. And the reason I want to tell them how to fix it on their own is what? What's the main thing that I'm doing here?
Trust?
No, not quite. Okay. In short, I'm trying to get something called alignment. Now, here is something very important to know. We're going to go down to what Jason said earlier, which is product solution. Most people will try to get alignment on their product. Do you think that this is the thing that will help you, right? The problem with that is that your product has a price tag correlated to it. And so for them to align with your product being the right thing for them, they now have to align with something that costs them money. Versus when I'm trying to get alignment on a solution that is not, or a methodology, I should say, a methodology that's not correlated to me, it's free. They can understand that Facebook ads compared to these other things is what they need to do. And they can align with like, okay, that methodology makes sense. That's what I need to do. But it doesn't cost them a penny to make that decision, right? And so I close them on a problem that they have. And then I close them on how to solve the problem for free. Then I close them afterward on how my product, which does cost money, will do the thing that they just agreed they need to do that will help them grow, right? And so I don't even need to actually get alignment on my product at this point. I'm not even trying to get them to align with my product anymore. What I'm trying to do is just get them to justify the spend. This is why closing for me has become very easy at the end, and I don't tend to get objections. And this is where I want you guys to get to. If I diagnose them with the problem that they agree on, right, and they're like, wow, I've never thought about that before. I have more rapport, I have more trust, right? They trust me. They trust that I can probably solve the problem. I tell them all the different ways they can solve the problem, but the one that really makes the most sense for where they're at, for where the industry is at, et cetera, right? I get them to agree that that's what they need to do for free. And then I just ask them, awesome, do you want to know how I could help you do it? And they're like, yes, please. And then I tell them like, hey, you know the way that I said you need to do Facebook ads? Well, what we do is we run your Facebook ads for you. We do all the media buying. We create all the creatives. We do all this, blah, 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 blah. And to even take it a step further, we do the conversations after people opt in. So all you have to do is get pre-booked appointments, whatever it is. But I'm essentially saying, hey, the thing that you just said you need to do that you agreed on, we just do that for you. And we already talked about the fact that if you solve this problem, this is where we get an opportunity cost, which is a part of discovery. This problem is costing me X amount of money because I'm not making money because of this. And so realistically, like, let's say this real estate agent is not closing as many deals as they want. If they close 2 more deals a month, they would make $20,000 more per month. The reason they're not closing that many deals is because they're not getting enough leads. I talk to them, I sell them on that problem. They understand that problem. They agree with that problem. They need more leads. Awesome. These are the ways that you can get more leads. You can cold call. You can do this. Realistically, what I would say is run Facebook ads. It's the best way to do it, et cetera. I sell them on that being the thing. They agree. They're like, that makes so much sense. Now I understand it, et cetera. Then I say, awesome. Well, you agree, right? This isn't how I word it, but this is the understanding of psychology. You agree that if you solve this problem, you'll make $20,000 more per month, right? You already agree that Facebook ads is the way to do it. So if you want me to do your Facebook ads for you, it's $1,500 a month plus $500 a month in ads. It's $2,000 a month for me to solve the problem that you're currently having, which costs you $20,000 per month. So now the price equation makes sense. I'm 10% of the cost of what they get on the other side of the problem. And so they don't have to agree with anything about my product because they already agreed to what my product does, solving their problem and making them that much more money. Does that make sense? That is Eli, all the way, I told you it was a long answer. All the way back though. That's why the transition is important.
Yeah, no, that's where I mess up because I go 1 to 3.
Yeah.
And then I have to fight my
Yeah.
way through the close.
Yeah, most people just do 3, just so you know. 1 to 3 is like the intermediate. 3 is the beginner. So if you just sell 3, you're beginner. If you sell 1 to 3, you're intermediate. If you sell 1, 2, and 3, that's like advanced sales. So cool. Was that helpful?
That
Very.
was helpful. I gotta hop off because I do have a sales call in 5 minutes, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll record it for you.
Please do.